Good afternoon. It's once again on a Friday at 6:30, and I am your host for the next 25 minutes or so of Hotline 21, the most interactive television show that I know anything about, because you, the viewers and listeners, can cut in and call in and talk and do whatever it is that you decide to do. I am delighted to be here on Fridays. I just got off the plane from Washington, D.C., because we went back into session this week after having experienced a monumental election where all of the members of the House of Representatives had to be elected, whether individuals intended to come back or not. A new session had to be elected, and those individuals have not all been sworn in yet. None of us have. And we won't be sworn in for that new session until January. So we have a lot of time to talk about what is expected to take place. I have joining me a member of my staff who's also interested in politics and government. Yes, she has a job, and we're going to talk about that because I'm going to ask her about Social Security. She is the person on my staff that handles issues related to Social Security. And of course, lots of people have problems and issues, and they ask questions about their Social Security benefits. But before I do that, I want to ask her if she would introduce herself and mention the kind of work that she does.
Hi, I'm Marquita Smith. I've been with the Congressman for 27 years. I can't believe that, but it has been that long. I basically started out as a volunteer with the organization, did voter registration, did a lot of political work. And then from there, the congressman, prior to him becoming congressman, he was a Cook County commissioner. I was on his staff for that little bit of time because it was really fast. And then from there, went over to his congressional office. And there, at the congressional office, I basically deal with Social Security and the two main categories of federal agencies would be Social Security and United States Postal Service.
That's right. I forgot about the postal, which is the most problematic area that we have. That in the last few years, we've had so many problems dealing with postal issues and postal operations until it's not funny. There was a time several years ago when we didn't have as many problems, and there was a different level of morale among postal workers, but we'll talk about that a little later. We just finished with a national election, and President-elect Donald Trump was elected, far beyond what many people expected in terms of what has been a pretty rocky history for him and a great deal of controversy surrounding him, some of his behavior, some of his thoughts, some of his actions, and yet he won throughout the country. Even in Illinois, which is considered a deep blue state, he got 46% plus of the vote, which means that almost half the Illinoisans voted for President-elect Trump. Marquita, you study this business a little bit and pay attention to it and all. Why do you think as many people voted for President Trump as they did?
First of all, we have to consider the situations that had occurred. Okay, I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna call him Trump, even though I don't like to refer to him, but I'm gonna be polite. He had 4 years to campaign. He never stopped campaigning from his last election. And one thing I've learned from my boss here is that you are not to, if you're serious about this business, you never stop campaigning. He had 4 years to campaign, whereas VP Harris only had how many days?
A little more than 100, I guess.
100.
Something like that.
That's a very short period of time to try to get your message. And that was the other thing, messaging. It was just connection and technology of today. I've come from the time when we used to knock on doors, send out flyers. Now we compete against all this technology. We had a big age gap as well. You had the younger group, Generation X, that felt that no one was paying attention. It was just a myriad of issues, and then connecting with the average citizen, the average working class person. I went out knocking on doors when we went to Wisconsin to help, get people to get out and vote. And just to hear, especially with our younger group, a lot of them, they were just, the things they were focusing on was day-to-day living, keeping a roof over their head, if they had children, daycare. So it was just a myriad of things that we could not overcome in that short length of time. This technology too, overcoming a lot of the lies that were put out and being able to counteract those lies that have been put before the citizens.
And so you think you mentioned young people. Those are regular issues, aren't they? And so you think they think that President Trump is going to do more to address their issues than the Democrats would do had Kamala Harris been elected?
Well, quiet as it's kept, a lot of the younger generation didn't even bother to vote. So when you look at those numbers of people who didn't participate, that was another, because this is a numbers game, this was another way to send a message out. You're still not connecting.
Well, why do you think people don't vote or didn't vote? Or a lot of people did not vote. That is true. Generally, if you get 50% of the people to vote, we kind of say, well, we had a decent turnout. Or if we get 60, oh my goodness, that's a great turnout. If we get 70, my goodness. But what happened to the other 30% who did not, or who do not, or will not vote? Why in a country like ours, a country that's supposed to be a democracy, a democratic, when you say democratic, meaning that each person has a right as well as a responsibility and perhaps even an obligation to vote, that yet many people don't.
Well, it stems first of all from the home. It used to be a time, because I know when I was coming up, you would have families that would talk about, not in debt, but they would talk about elections, so to speak. I had parents that lived through the Great Depression, so they would speak very vaguely about it. But when it came time we had to watch a lot of television and news, and then your school. We used to have civics. Civics used to be taught. Civics is no longer taught. So now you have this entertainment world to contend with. And like I said, it's technology, messaging. Messaging is the biggest culprit in this process.
So kids don't have to pass a Constitution test anymore?
They have to pass the Constitution, but that's about it. They don't know the real history quite as it's kept. They study to pass the exam, but not to really overly understand what's behind the Constitution.
So you are suggesting that maybe we don't put enough emphasis on the electoral portion of making a democracy, that you can't have a democracy unless people are helping to make the decisions. And one of the best ways to help make the decisions is by voting. You know, that if there are 300 million people, they can't all get to Washington and fit in a room and say, here's what we're going to do, here's what we're not going to do. And so we're not teaching people well enough to understand the role that they play. And it's not just before the elected people can play a role, they got to get elected. And the role that all of us play is getting them elected. So we have to play our role if we're going to make democracy work.
Absolutely right. If I had not volunteered at the time that I volunteered with you, I'm going to be quite honest, I would not been that engulfed in this political process. And it's a process. It's not something that you learn overnight. Gradually, I started becoming very interested in the electoral process when I went into corporate and started working. And I would hear conversations, especially when Harold Washington got elected. That was the other individual that caused me to be more in tune to what this political process was about.
Well, we'll talk about it some more, but let me switch over to a minute. Social Security. How actively involved and engaged are people in our district about Social Security? What are the complaints that you get, or the inquiries, or the questions?
Most people do not know to come. They come to the congressman basically because when it comes to Social Security, being that Social Security is a federal agency, they know that, okay, the last resort that I have is to go to my congressional member. And a lot of times what happens is that they may go to Social Security. Social Security will tell them, especially the process of being denied their disability, because there's different components of Social Security. There's your regular Social Security for retirement age. Then there's Social Security disability, Social Security SSDI, Social Security disability. Individuals are not aware about the Social Security disability until they encounter an issue after being in the workforce that they no longer can work because of their disability, and they're trying to obtain those benefits. And a lot of times, if the normal process with Social Security is the first time around, you're automatically denied. And I think that is because of some legislation that was put in place on how to be able to obtain your Social Security benefits, being if you're disabled. So we get a lot of individuals that are being told either by the Social Security agency, go and talk to your congressman, because this is a piece of legislation that's been written in place, and maybe they can give you, they can allow more leverage for you to get your benefits. So I get a lot of constituents that call and say, well, I applied for my Social Security benefits and I couldn't get them, and I don't have no income. So what I do is I can cause the hearings to be expedited based on hardship. And then we get another issue that occurs is overpayments with Social Security benefits. And that's where a person that has retired but has not retired at the actual age prior to their age full retirement, they started collecting their Social Security benefits, but then they were told because of legislation that they only can make X amount of money. Social Security is a pretty complex agency as well, because it's not cut and dry.
Let me ask you about the money. Individuals can work and still collect Social Security, can they not?
But it's at a certain age they can. However, they have to be careful because each case is different. And if you're at a certain age, you have a cap amount that you can work to. After a certain age, you have no cap, which the age is 60, 67. You can start collecting your benefits and not incur any overage.
So if you're 67 or older and you have a job, you can collect the full amount of what your benefits are, right?
Yes, you can.
Is that it?
Yes.
So if you're 67 or older and you also want to work and have a job, you can do both.
Yes.
You can collect all of the benefits that you are eligible for and work your job, whatever that job is.
Yes. And so, however, you do, depending on what your salary is that you're working at your job, and you do have to obtain an accountant so they can tell you too, that because you're going to be taxed on that money as well.
Well, what about individuals who are disabled and now they are trying to get disability benefits? What do you have to be to get those?
There's no age stipulation for that. However, there is a lot of medical process that you have to go through to declare yourself as being medically disabled. Now, when they there's a new legislation that went into place after the American Disabilities Act that says now that if you have a disability, you can also work. Because most people that have a disability, a lot of them do want to work.
All right. And then there are those who cannot work and they get a full disability benefit.
Yes.
For being disabled. And of course, they have to be medically certified. That is, a physician must certify
Yes.
that they are unable to work because of whatever the disability is.
Right.
People appeal. Do they usually get some relief when they appeal, and whatever the additional information is that the agency is asking for, when individuals comply with that, what happens?
They usually get approved, but I want to say too, with that process, a lot of times you need to have legal assistance, which there is legal assistance available to those who are applying for those benefits, because it's very complex.
Is there legal assistance that the individuals do not have to pay for? I mean, if you are trying to get benefits, in all likelihood, you're not going to have any excess money or money to go out and hire a lawyer. I mean, how you can go hire a lawyer? You don't have any money. You're not working, so you don't have any benefits. So are there resources?
Yes, there are. It's social service legal assistance that specialize with getting individuals their benefits, their Social Security benefits. You don't, and this is how you know too, if an attorney, a legal firm is on the up and up with the legal assistance. They will evaluate your situation, and then they will determine whether or not your case will be winnable. If it's winnable, they proceed to help you through that whole process. And there's a very minimal amount they charge, but they don't charge unless they win your case. So you don't want to deal with any other legal agencies that say they can help you, but they want a retainer fee up front. No, you don't want to deal with those agencies.
Well, how do you know about? I mean,
we have a list of those legal agencies if you reach out to our office, and they've been around for quite some time, and like I said, they specialize in helping you obtain your Social Security benefits.
So the bottom line kind of becomes, if an individual think or believe or hope that they have access to Social Security benefits, they should call our office if they don't know anything else to do, and tell us what the situation is. And we can then direct them to sources of help where they can get a determination made that they do in fact qualify for Social Security benefits, because we want to make sure that every person who qualifies in any way at all get the benefits that are available to them and for them. So if anybody listening have any questions at all about Social Security, call us at 773-533-7520, and we will try and make sure and help you to get your Social Security benefits to which you are eligible. Thank you so much. That just about ends our time. I want to thank you, Ms. Smith, for being with me this afternoon. And don't forget, 773-533-7520. We're there to help you. Thank you. See you next week.
Have a great day and be safe.